Let's talk about fertility post-show. Going from competition prep to finding out just 2 months later, I conceived and was pregnant. If you guys haven't followed me before, I'm Caroline DeMesquita, and I share a lot of women's health, hormones, and lifestyle tips on this channel. So look forward to having you here. If you haven't followed my competition prep journey in the past, I've done several competitions over the past 8 years, almost 20 shows in total. And through that time frame, one thing that was an underlying fear for me was, were my hormones ever going to be in a good spot that I could maintain a pregnancy and actually conceive? A lot of women who are in the competitive bodybuilding world or are lean year-round or have hormone health history issues, this is a true concern. And I'm here today to tell you that there are ways that you can heal, you can get pregnant, and you can maintain a healthy pregnancy. So I'm gonna start with my 2023 season this year. I did 2 national shows trying for a pro card. I placed top 5 in the first one, 7th in the second. And at that point, my body was in the best shape I've ever been. I was about 7% body fat by the second show based on a DEXA scan, which you guys can check out that video here. And through the process, this actually felt like the easiest prep of my life. Not from the fact that I wasn't working hard or I didn't have a lot of cardio, because let me tell you, I was doing 90 minutes of cardio every day, but my body was responding very well. I never went below 1,200 calories a day, and I'm 5'3.5", and by stage day, I was 126 pounds. That goes to show you that when you do heal your hormones, you can have a really healthy competition prep and dieting phase. So after those 2 shows, getting feedback from the judges, I did some reflection, and I've been thinking for a while now. I was turning 31 this year in July, and Dave and I have talked about starting a family. There hits a point for a female where if you want to have children, you know, okay, this is the time I actually want to start trying for a baby. For some women out there, it might not come around for a little while, or it might be sooner than a lot of your other friends, and that's okay. The biggest thing is that knowing that, I need to make this decision for my present day self and the goals that I have. The stage will always be there. So that was my decision, was, okay, let's hang up the heels. And Dave and I had some serious conversations about starting to focus on fertility. Now, obviously, it takes 2 people to have a baby. So I was going to do everything on my end to prepare my body, focus on fertility, stress management, healthy lifestyle. Even since my first ever competition prep, I've had inconsistent periods. At one point, I didn't have a menstrual cycle for 2.5 years for no good reason. I was in a maintenance/building phase. I think I was eating on average 1,800 calories a day, no menstrual cycle. And I wasn't super lean either. But that's what really got me thinking about my hormone health, starting to track my hormones and getting lab work regularly. And over the past several years, one thing that's been important for me is to get routine labs before a prep and after a prep to see where are my sex hormones at. This year specifically, we got labs done prior to prep, and mostly everything was in a good range. Now, if you guys know, a couple years ago, I had postmenopausal levels. I had basically no sex hormones. Everything was bottoms down. And even doing minimal PEDs, that can still have a long-term impact on your sex hormones and their capability to be at optimal ranges, just because of their impact on SHBG as well. So coming out of the show season, my mindset was, I want to enjoy training again. That's my mindset every time coming out of a show, honestly. I want to enjoy training. I want to focus on eating healthy foods, healthy fats, not depriving myself of anything that I desire. Honestly, we didn't know how long it was going to take to get pregnant. So not focusing on this outcome of getting pregnant, but rather, how do we enjoy life together? So I actually booked us a vacation that we were gonna go in September to Tulum, was doing some date nights, and my birthday came about in July, and David and I both had conversations with our primary care providers at Gillette Health. So David actually started his fertility protocol, which he's gonna be talking about on his YouTube channel. And for me, I was just maintaining a menstrual cycle. Now, it was interesting because during the show season, I had a period every single month like clockwork, almost exactly every 28 days. The next period in July was actually a little bit longer, and it actually was about 35 days until I got that period, which I was kind of surprised. I was post-psychotherapy at that point, coming off of a couple substances, so I was like, that's probably why my hormones are trying to regulate themselves. Dave and I tracked my menstrual cycle, my expected ovulation, and that was approximately the first time that we could try to conceive. So, we had our fun and go about the next few weeks, and we talked about the vacation. I'm like, I want to diet down a little bit. So that's actually when I started on the semaglutide. And I started doing fasted cardio again, reeling in my diet a little bit closer. And a couple weeks later, I was just like in this funk. I'm like, man, I don't feel good. My stomach's off. I was needing a nap. I was pushing my caffeine a little bit higher. And this was in August. And then my period was late. And we're like, okay, well, either it's going to come around a couple days later or you're pregnant. And lo and behold, took one try and we got pregnant. At that moment in time, I was a little bit concerned because I had been put on semaglutide. I was on growth hormone. So at that time, we were like, okay, we're going to focus on just maintaining a healthy fetus and going from there. At that point, I was almost unsure, like, okay, is my body really ready? I had run labs, and actually the point I would have run labs was approximately during my ovulation window, probably on the later half. Best labs I've ever had. So lo and behold, it goes to show that when you put in the time and effort over time, this can be months, this can be years, to focus on hormone health, stress management, not focusing on the outcome. That's when it can happen and will happen. I do want to include into this video the discussion on PEDs because it's a really common question I get is this going to impact my chances to get pregnant? And honestly, I know a lot of couples where the male was on TRT or he was on a stack, the female was running Anavar or Primo, or she was in PrEP, and they get pregnant. If you are more conservative in your approach with anything, devil lies in the dosage. So if you're running a very minimal dosage, it might not have a negative impact on you. That's all about the long term. I'm also a big advocate on you have to run your routine lab work, and it needs to be in the right timing. To know where you're trending, you have to have the data. Biofeedback's great, and I always advocate to people, including my clients, like you have to have biofeedback and not just lean into the labs because your body is ultimately the one that's going to tell you what's going on. So run your labs, listen to your body, and you're gonna know what's going on. Something's off, something needs support. Your body needs love and support. And that is the biggest thing I'm trying to advocate for on this channel is when you love and support your body, it's going to love you back. And when you have that mindset of, I want to manifest this, and you put your time and your energy into that, it's gonna show up, it's gonna happen. Some of you might not believe in that, and that's okay. But the moment that it clicks with you, and when you do believe, that's when it's gonna take place. One thing that has been the biggest help for me in tracking my stress, my heart rate variability, my sleep, and my periods, this little ring right here, this Aura ring. So I got this, I think it was 2 years ago, and it has sensors on the inside to push into the bottom of your finger. It has been very helpful in collecting data for myself to know when should I expect my menstrual cycle? Am I really recovering from my training? Am I stressed? Am I hitting my step count? All these little things that can help us get to that ultimate end goal and desire just by one little ring that I put on my finger, and I have the phone app. So if you're interested in an Aura ring and you've never heard about it, I do have $40 off you can get with my link. So check that out in the description below. And ultimately at the end of the day, there's so many ways you can track, right? If you're on hormone or birth control, however, you're gonna have to be really wise in your approach to getting pregnant. Coming off of birth control, depending on how long you've been on it, what type you are using, is going to impact your fertility in a different way. And some women get their period right away. Others might not. It might take months. So having a plan, I never, ever want to hear someone say, oh yeah, I cold turkey came off birth control. You're setting yourself up for failure if you do that. You have to support your hormones, get labs done. Usually I recommend getting it during when you're on birth control and then a couple weeks after you come off to see how they change. Most women are going to go estrogen dominant, and that's just the nature of the beast. So having some natural herbs and support with your foods, food choices to support your estrogen levels is gonna be really important as well. So at the end of the day, is there a secret special sauce to getting pregnant after a competition? No. Is there a secret to getting your fertility improved? Not really. There's a lot of micronutrients you can add in with foods. There's a lot of ways you can manage your stress better, manage your mindset better. Ultimately, that does support your hormones because our brain is communicating to the gut, to the ovaries, and that's how we know our hormones are where they need to be. So taking that into account, ladies out there, yes, you have a responsibility. Gentlemen out there, you also have a responsibility. Take care of your gonads and focus on your health, but also helping her de-stress as well. And it's a team effort at the end of the day. So I hope this helps someone out there. Once again, this has been a huge topic of conversation, especially for me this year, coming off of my show season. I actually was tempted to try and push a growing cycle and doing nationals at the end of the year. And then lo and behold, the universe said, no, Caroline, you're pregnant. So everything happens in due divine timing.